So we're on our last lesson, which is factoring special polynomials. We learned about a difference of perfect squares. Today we'll be learning about the sum of perfect squares. So we're going to be factoring. Now this looks a little normal like usual. Our middle term, go in the middle. First times my last, 36n squared. What two numbers multiply to get me 36 but add to get me 12? 6 and 6. The same. Interesting. So I have 6n is 6n, n squared, negative 36, so my leading and my last. What do these two have in common? An n. What do these two have in common? 6. And these two? And what do these two have in common? All right, so I need to put a negative or a positive. Do I have to put any negatives? No, I'm dealing with just positives. That's positive, and my answer is n plus 6 and n plus 6. Oh, they look the same. Interesting. The same sign and the same number. Let's see if this pattern continues. I have 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. All right, so I have a middle term, that'll go there. First times my last, that'll be 36x squared. What two numbers multiply to get me a positive 36, but add to get me negative 12? Negative 6 and negative 6. All right, so we'll put our terms in there. Our leading, 4x squared, our last, 9. What do these two have in common? 2x. What do these two have in common? What multiple are they of? 3. What do these two have in common? A 2x. What do these two have in common? A 3. Now, do I put a negative on this 3, on that 3, or both? Well, both. So my binomials are 2x minus 3 and 2x minus 3. Interesting. The exact same binomial, they're the same. Let's try one more. I have x squared plus 4x plus 4. My middle term will go here. First times my last will be 4x squared. What two numbers can you think of that multiply to get me 4, but add to get me 4? 2. 2 and 2. So we'll put them in here. Our leading, our last. What do these two have in common? An x. What do these two have in common? 2. What do these two have in common? An x. And what do these two have in common? A 2. Awesome. So my answer is, by the way, do I need to put any negatives on either of these twos? No, because I'm just dealing with positives. So that's x plus 2 and x plus 2. Oh, they're the same. Let's try one more before we try cracking this pattern. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. I think we might have done this one already. Let's look at the answer and compare it a little bit. See if we could figure out this answer, which we already know. Do you notice a pattern? Let me change my ink color. Do you notice a pattern between this 2 and this 4? Well, 4 can be square rooted, can it? Square root of 4 is 2. What about this 9 here? Can 9 be square rooted? Yes, it can. It comes out to be 3. So this seems kind of very similar to what we saw in the last video. The only thing is, instead of the signs being a negative and a positive, they're either both negative or both positive. Interesting. So let's see if we can sum this up. Let's try it out. What do you think might be the two binomials here? Well, let's do this first. What's the square root of x squared? That'll be an x. So, because I know x times x will get me x squared. What's the square root of 49? Sorry about that sloppiness. But what's the square root of 49? 7. 7 times 7. Now, the reason I put positive here, now should I have put positives here? My middle term is negative 14. Well, I'm just guessing. I'm going to see if my pattern is correct or maybe it's wrong. So I'm going to do my work. Middle term goes in here. First times my last is 49 x squared. What two numbers multiply together gets me 49, but adds to get a negative 14. Negative 7 and negative 7. We'll put these in our boxes. Leading, last. What do these two have in common? X. So far, so good. What do these two have in common? 7. All right so far. Let's see if I got right with the positives, though. What do these two have in common? And what do these two have in common? So the question then becomes, should I put a negative on neither, which was my guess, on one of these, or on both of these? I have to put them on both. So I almost got my guess right from the pattern I was noticing, except for the fact that this should have been negative. So I was almost on it, except for the fact that that should be a negative. That should be a negative, right? I almost got it. Yeah, almost got it. So what are we noticing? Just to wrap things up. We know how to factor, so if we don't recognize the pattern, we could still factor, but I noticed that the factor results were pretty much exactly the same. They were this exact same binomial. This is what we call a perfect square trinomial because unlike others, I do have a middle term. Other than the last one, I do have a middle term. And the leading term is able to be square rooted, and so is the last term. It's able to be square rooted. So I have the middle term. My leading term can be square rooted. My last term can be square rooted. If you forget this pattern, you're more than welcome to just factor. You definitely are rock stars at factoring by now, and you'll definitely need it for the next credit. As always, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please come into Learning Center, email, text, visit Learning Center, call your teachers, ask them for help, call or ask your tutors for help. And as always, happy math problem solving.